Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this video now we're going to look at pure versus impure pipes in Angular 2. But before I can actually explain what the differences between the two are, there's actually something you need to know first. And what we need to talk about first is something called change detection. Now, we've seen this a lot throughout the course. When we think about, do check in the lifecycle hooks, it seems to, handle every single focus, every single blur. Whenever we type something in any field whatsoever, do check picks it up and it allows you to handle basically anything, any kind of detection that takes place. Now, what that's actually referred to is aggressive detection. So do check does aggressive detection. What pipes can do is they can do aggressive detection like that, which is considered an impure pipe, or they can do a looser term of detection in Angular 2, which is referred to as a pure pipe. Now, basically how it works is pure pipes will only detect changes to the property in which it's bound to if the reference to that property changes. So I'm going to show a few examples of this in a minute with both an object and an array, as opposed to an impure pipe, which not only detects changes based on the change of a reference of a property, but if that property happens to be something complicated like an array or an object, anything that's modified inside of those things will also be detected as a change. So that's kind of the difference. Anyway, I'll start with an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my component. I have nothing in here at the moment, so I'm just going to quickly write up a header here. Let's go heading 1, pure versus impure pipes, like so. And then for the first example, I'm going to use objects. So it's example 1, objects. And to best demonstrate this, I'm going to use a very, very small form. So I'm going to come in, create a form tag, and so far, nothing special here. But now I'm going to create a first name field with import type text. And this is all the same as you've seen before in the previous parts of the course. I'm going to call the name first name, and then we're going to create an ng model for this, which will bind to an object property. So in our case, I'm just going to call it example person dot first name. Okay, so it'll be an object in the component that'll be called example person, and it will have a property called first name. Okay, and then I'm going to basically end that there and put a BR tag because I'm lazy, and we'll do the same for the last name. So I'll just grab this line, and I'll remove the BR on the end. And I'll replace all the places where I need to with last name. Like so, and like so. Then what I want to do is I want to print out a result of this. So at the moment what I'm going to start with is just simple interpolation, just to give you an idea of how a component by default handles change detection. So I'm going to go showing changed values directly, and then under here I'm going to put basically example person dot first name, and then under that we'll put example person dot last name. So this stuff, very simple stuff, we're just exerting out, or we're spitting out the results that's in the field, right? So nothing special here. I'll come to the back end and I will create what's referred to as a person object. And for now, I'll keep it as a little object. I won't actually specify a class. So we'll come here, I'll go example person equals, and then we'll create an object literal with a first name in it. And we'll set that by default to blank. And then we'll have last name that will also be set to blank by default. Okay, so nothing special here. So far, we've seen this in previous videos, but let's see what it does, just to give you an idea. So we come over, And if I type the first name in, it automatically emits Daryl down here. If I put in my last name, it'll also emit my name straight after. So with interpolation, it looks at the properties of this object here and goes, I'm binding to each of these individual properties. So as a result, if I change them, it's going to say, cool, I'm going to show this. Okay, and that's all good because you're looking at those property references directly. However, what if I want to do something like I want to spit out this object that I've got written here as JSON, right? Now, in the previous video, we looked at the JSON pipe. Not the previous video, the video beforehand. We looked at the JSON pipe and what they did for us. It showed us the JSON for an object. However, that JSON pipe happened to be an impure pipe. What I want to do first is I want to create a pipe that uses JSON.stringify, and we're going to make it pure. And we'll see what it does, okay? So we'll come back over to the code. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it custom json.pipe.ts, and I'll just import what we need here. So pipe, whoops, not pp, pipe and pipe pimp, pipe transform, like so, from, and we get it from Angular core. And we'll add the pipe decorator, and we'll give it a name of, oops, I've got to put that in as an object again, forgot that. We'll give it a name of, what do I want to call it? Let's call it custom JSON. Really basic, but that's what we'll call it at this stage. And I'm going to make sure that pure here is set to true. Okay, so we're making this what's considered a pure pipe. Now you will understand very quickly what the differences are when I do this. So we're going to export class. I'm going to call this custom JSON pipe, and we're going to implement the pipe transform. We'll go transform, and we're passing in some data, and this is really much anything, and string, so, and then I'm going to return json.stringify data, okay, and that's pretty much it. So this is the same, well, it's not quite the same as the JSON pipe, but you'll find under the hood it's probably very similar. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go first register this. So I'm going to come to the app component and quickly register this. So custom JSON pipe. And once again, grab that, put it down here. So we put all that stuff together. Save that. And I'm going to come over to the app component. And just under where all this stuff is, I'm going to make this be a new line. Directly underneath this, I'm going to include the JSON pipe for the example person object. So I'm going to put using a custom pure pipe, JSON pipe. Okay. We go example person, right, and we use my custom JSON pipe, right? So I'll save this. Hopefully this works when I go over here now. At the moment you can see that the first name is emitted blank and last name is blank, so you're like, alright, cool. However, watch this. If I come in and I type Daryl, it's emitted here, but you'll see down here this is not updated in real time. And this is basically the difference with pure, alright? With a pure pipe, the object that I'm referencing here has to have its reference changed in order to have any of the inner properties reflected. Even if I change one of the properties inside of that object, it's not going to change the output here. It's not going to fire this pipe, okay? That's just how it works. However, if I use an impure version, which I'm not going to create my own. I'm literally going to go to the next line, like so. And we're going to use the built-in impure one. So using the built-in impure JSON pipe. If I come in here and now just type JSON. So the difference between, and I can promise you this, the difference between the custom JSON and the JSON here is literally pure would be set to false. Okay, I can guarantee you, and I'm going to show you this when I get to arrays, that that's in fact the case. Not with this particular pipe, but with another two sets of pipes that we create. But now if I come over, because this one is actually impure, the original JSON one's impure, if I come in and I type Daryl, you'll see now that Daryl's been emitted immediately. Right? I didn't have to update the reference of the object in order to get the new value. And then I'll type document here. So what this pipe is doing is it's using aggressive change detection, right? Very similar to the change detection here. With a pure pipe, we're using not so aggressive and much more lightweight change detection. So as a result, if we just change a property of the object, it's not going to actually fire off the pipe. Now, the other place you can think about this in Angular 2 is basically the ng on changes method in the lifecycle hooks. When does that fire? It fires when the input reference has been changed, not when one of the data values on the input is changed. Not sure if you guys can remember that. I spoke about that a long time back now. It's probably over 12 videos ago. But if you do remember that, it's the same situation here with pipes. We only update the value of the JSON here when we change the reference of the object. So let's demonstrate this with the second example. I'm not going to demonstrate this anymore with the top example. I will demonstrate this fact with the second example that we make here. So the second example is going to be around arrays. Okay, so yeah, H2, and we're going to go example 2, arrays. So obviously what we're going to have now is we're going to have an array of objects that we can basically update and edit, or add and edit. That's essentially what I'm going to build here, is a form that allows me to add and edit people. And what we'll do is we'll add another check-in which will determine how you can see for a fact that pure pipes don't work the way you always intend them to. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to create another form like so. Inside this form, it's going to look very similar to the top one. So enter first name. It is going to be a little bit different, so I'll continue to type it here. We're going to go form person dot first name, and then we're going to have ng model, and that will also be equal to form person dot first name. So the component will have a form person object with a property first name in it. That's guaranteed. And I'm going to end that there and put a BR tag after it. And we're going to have a similar input on the next line. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it on the next line. Last name, last, and last name. Right. So that's that. And I'm going to add one more field here. And this is the bit that you're going to see a huge distinction in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a are they a player? So this is going to be a checkbox. And this is where you're going to see the magic. Form person dot is player. And ng model equals form person dot is player. Like so. And BR. And then finally, to submit the form, I'm going to put a button here, and I'm going to put a click event, and I'm going to call it save player, like so. Not save player, sorry, save person. Save person. And I'll put save person and close off the button. Okay. So now we've got all that cool stuff. What I want to do after that is any player that I save here, I want to put in my list. Okay. And it's just going to be a normal array of type people, or of type person, sorry. It'll be a people array of type person. And one section, or there's going to be a number of sections. There's going to be one that uses just an ng4. So that will show the aggressive way of detecting changes in a collection. Then I'm going to use a pure pipe, which will show the less aggressive options with in regards to, you know, pipes and that kind of thing, and change detection, sorry. And the last one will be an impure version, which will look very much the same to the first one. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a H3 for each of these sections. I'm going to go people list, like so. And underneath this, I'm just going to do an unordered list. Okay, so because I'm lazy, I'm going to do an li, and we're going to use the ng4, and I shouldn't have to explain any of this. Let person in people, not in of people. I get that mixed up so many times because of different languages. I write C# every day, so when we write a for each, we use in, not of. So sometimes I get that confused, but I remembered on this occasion. So we have that, and then I'm going to close off the li here. Now what I want to show inside the li is a few things. So the first thing I want to show is the person's first name, and then after that I want to show the person's last name, and then in brackets I want to specify whether they're a player, or if they're not a player, they're a fan. Okay, that's what I'm going to do in this particular example. So person.isPlayer, and we're going to put the word player, otherwise fan. Okay, so that should handle the first list. Now we're going to do something similar for the next one. So I'm going to come back to that because I want to get this list going. So we need to create an object called formPerson, a method called savePerson, and a people array. Okay, so let's go to the component and start doing that. So first we're going to have formPerson, and what I want to do is I don't want to use object literals for this part, just because it's going to be easier to deal with basically pushing into arrays and stuff if everything is the same object. So before I do that, I'm going to come and create a new class. I'm going to call it person.ts. I'm going to go export class person, like so, and I'm going to have the first name is equal to blank, last name is equal to blank, and isPlayer is equal to false. And just to be cool, I'll add a constructor so that we don't miss anything. So I'll come in and go first name string, last name string, and isPlayer boolean. And we'll go this dot first name equals first name, this dot last name. I'm going fast with this, guys, just simply because this is stuff you've seen before. isPlayer equals isPlayer. So now I can use this person object. So I need to import that. So import person from /person. Yeah, okay. It's accepted the capital. I don't think that's right. Should have to have lowercase here. like that, just in case. So this form person now will become a default person. In fact, what I'm going to do is instead of setting that up inside of the constructor, this is basically construction here. Constructor type stuff, even though it's not in a constructor, it is constructed when the constructor is called. But what I want to do is I want to construct this on initialization. So we have ng on init, and I haven't implemented the on init yet. Now, keep in mind, interfaces inside of TypeScript are not necessary. However, they're recommended so that you get best compilation issues. So I've added the on init. I've got the ng on init method. I'm going to go this dot, what do they call it? Form player equals new. Form person equals new person. And I'm going to pass in blank false. Like so. And up here, I'm going to create a form person and just set it to a type of person. And I'll just quickly confirm that I did call it form person. I did. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a save person method, and I won't put anything in it at the moment. So that's pretty straightforward. Just go save person. And that's it. So save the person will be the form person. Okay, so I'm not going to pass it as an argument here, just to save it a time. And the last thing I wanted to look at was the people array. So let's create an array for that. And I might go, is it people, which is a person array. And I will set that as this dot people equals new array of type person. Cool. Now I think that's enough to get this going at the moment without actually adding anything extra to the people array, which is going to be part of this. But that should be enough to get rid of the issues. And it is. But the one other thing I want to do quickly is I want to actually put some people in this array. So I'm going to go this dot people dot push, and we'll go new person. I'll create one for myself. So Daryl Manton. Now I'm not a player, so I'm going to go false. And we'll put in two more who are players. And if you know the two that I might pick here, so one's Kobe. I'll make that true. And the best player of all time, got to have him in here, Michael Jordan. So hopefully now we should get a list of people down in the people list here, hopefully. And we don't, so why is that? This dot people, have I spelt it wrong? G4, let person of people. That is very interesting. Let's have a look at the errors. I'm sure there's some errors. There are. So what have we got here? I have not specified, and this always, I tend to do this a lot. I need to give the name up here. So it's not compiling the template, which is why it's not actually processing anything. So you need to always add a name to inputs. I'm always forgetting to do this part. And we'll grab last name and is player. Save, and if we come over now, hopefully that's working. Cool. And I'm not sure why. Oh, did I not set the last input here as a checkbox? Input type is this player. Oh, wait a minute. This should be checkbox. This should be text. I'll bet you guys noticed this too. Didn't say anything, did you? You're supposed to tell me through the screen. Alright, so now we've got the right UI. So So if I come in and I put in something like this, it all seems to be fine. Now we haven't bound it to anything yet. The other thing I wanted to do is in the list of items, I wanted to add a link. So href equals, and for this I'm just going to put JavaScript void 0. It's a very old school way of doing it, but that's okay. That's just so when we click the link, it doesn't actually try and leave the page. Click event equals, and I could return false from this or go e.prevent default, but I'm too lazy to worry about that right now. So edit person, and we'll pass in this case the person. Okay, and I'll just put the word edit and close that off. So hopefully by now we need to go and create an edit person method. Let's do that. Cool. Save. And come over, and it should be all good. Doesn't break. Just hopefully it doesn't break. No errors. That's good. So just get this started and set up. So basically what I want to do now is when I create a new person, I want it to add to the people array. Okay, straight away. Just push it straight in and go, yep, that's what I want to do. Now the object I'm putting in there, right, is basically a new object, but it's going to come from the form person. So when we save this, we're going to reset this form person back to a blank person. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to determine if we're editing a person or if we're creating a new person. So I'm just going to put a not if is editing. So if we're not editing, and it's this dot is editing, and I haven't created a property for that yet, so I'll do that. So is editing, and by default I'll make that false. So if we are editing, what I want to do, or sorry, if we're not editing, we're adding, I'm going to go this dot example people, or example, yeah, or this dot people, sorry, this dot people dot push, and we're going to put in the form person, and it should be this dot form person. Cool. Else, if we are editing someone, I like to start off with, I'm just going to put this dot editing equals false. Okay, because we don't, oh sorry, is editing is equal false. Because we're using model binding, we don't need to really act on this. So I'm just ensuring that when we save, we're going to set it to false. Okay, because in edit person, first thing I'm going to do is go this dot is editing is equal to true. Now the other thing I want to do at the end of this form is I want to blank out the form person, so that now we have got the default again of blank everything. So I don't like typing things twice, so I'm going to come down here, I'm going to create a private method. I'm just going to call it create blank person for form, like so, and then I'm basically going to cut that out, paste that down here, and then inside of this method I'm going to go this dot create person blank form, and because it's also in the ng on init, rather than having it up here, I'm just going to do that, and that makes things a little easier to deal with. And then I'll just put the people stuff together. So by rights now, if I am not editing, in fact, if I've done everything I need for editing, no I have not. What I want to do is pass in a person. I forgot that. So person, I've typed person, and now that I've passed in that person, I want to set it to the form person. So this dot form person equals person, and that's what I need to do. So still we haven't really got to the point of this video yet. I'm just setting up the forms, but how I do this is actually important for you to understand, because it's going to show you how types take certain changes and don't understand them unless they're impure. So now I've got this list. I'll close that. If I come in and now I add a new person, and I go save, the new person's added to the list. If I edit it, the new person's up here. If I go to, you'll see it's instantly changed here. If I click here, then I'll just click save person, then it will empty the form. Okay? So that's the end of it. So we've got our people list. Now, if you notice that as soon as I edited something here, it was reflected instantly in the people list. Right? As soon as I put the 2, it was reflected instantly. That's referred to as aggressive change detection, right? Because Angular is going, oh, something changed. Quick, we better go and edit the list because a property of an item within that list had changed. Even if it's not the reference to the list itself that changed, anything inside of that list changes, we're going to reapply the list. So that's aggressive change detection. With the next example I'm going to show you, with Pure Pipe, you're going to see this not happen. Okay? And so what I'm going to utilize is this checkbox right here. We're going to create a pipe that returns the list of people who are in fact players. Okay? So I'm going to come back over to the code. I'm going to create a new file. Alright, I'm going to call this file playeronly.pipe.ts. Okay? And so I already have a pipe in place, so I'm just going to pretty much copy most of this code, even though I'm going to change the implementation. It's going to be quite similar. So I'm going to call it play only, like so. I'm going to call the name of the pipe player only pipe. Pretty straightforward. And what we're going to transform is we're going to transform some people. Alright. So some people, which is a person array. And so I need to include the person from /person. Again, it's lowercase. I need to remember to do that. Cool. So now that I've got that, we need to return a cut of this. So because I'm going player only, what I'm going to do is on this line, I'm going to return me the people and filter out the ones that have the is player set. Right? And why is this not returning? Because it needs to return a person array here. So now what this will do is it will take the original array, it will filter that array down based on this is player flag. Okay, so I'm going to save that. I have to register it in the module as normal. So come down and do that. I'm going to copy this here. I'm going to paste. I'm going to rename to player only pipe. And then rename this to player dash only. And now that's registered. Last thing we need to do is I'm going to come over to the code. We have this UL here. I'm going to pretty much copy something similar to this. So I'll just in fact copy this and paste. And for the H3, I'll set it to player list. Right. And we're going to be using a pure pipe filter. Right. And then down here with the people, we're going to use the player only pipe, and we'll see what happens. Now I like to usually put pipes with collections inside of that kind of parentheses. It just distinguishes that this is an array that's being applied to, has a pipe applied to it. So let's quickly just check that out. I don't think I have to do anything else here. So this should give me a similar list. But what you can see is by default, because Daryl Duckman is just a fan, the player list is showing Kobe and Jordan only because they're both players. But if I come and I edit myself, and I make myself a player, you'll see it instantly updated here in the people list. If I click save, nothing is updated in this pure pipe filter at all. It doesn't even apply the filter again. Why? Because we only changed the property of one of the objects that's in the array. Pipes, by default, when they're pure, will only change the presentation on the screen if you change the reference of the object it's applying the pipe to. We haven't done that here. We've only changed the reference of a property of one of the objects that's in the array. So as a result, it doesn't work. Okay? And now, just to distinguish the difference, I'm going to create the same thing, but this time I'm going to create an impure pipe. So it's going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to have to create another pipe, obviously. And we're going to go player, I'm going to call it player only impure. Alright, so that's all I need to change in here. Now if I come over and I create a new one, I'm going to go player dash only dash impure .ts, .pipe.ts. Like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to literally copy this here and I'm going to paste it into the impure one, and I'm going to call this one player only impure pipe. And instead of implementing pipe transform, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually extend the current one I've got. So player only pipe. And the reason why I want to extend it is because I want to use the exact same transform method and not change anything. So we can remove the transform like so, and it's not going to complain. Now the only thing I'm going to change here is I'm going to set the pure to false, and I can also remove the player here. So I'm going to set it to false now. Right? So this impure pipe is false. So now I'm going to come over to the player only impure pipe. I'm going to add that to the module, like so, and then I'll copy and paste the import for it, and we'll go impure pipe and player dash only dash impure dot pipe. Now if I run this, well, you're going to get what you're expecting, you would think. And I've got an error, which is the error I've got here. I probably have not changed the name of the impure pipe. That's probably what I've missed. And I did not. So I need to change that as well. And if I go back, it's all running again. So we come down. You can see the impure pipe has the same as the pure pipe at this point. But now, if I come in and edit myself, and I change this instantly, if I click on this, if you look down the bottom, when using an impure pipe, we get that aggressive change detection, and as a result, I've instantly come up. Okay? Now, that's essentially the difference between a pure and impure pipe, is the change detection. Alright? However, I will say this, and I'll say this once, and I know a lot of developers will go, oh, impure pipe, yes, let's do that, because that works. The reason why they didn't have a pure pipe act impure in the first place is because of performance. And you'll notice in Angular 2, they don't have a filter function, and they don't have a group by function. Or was it order by? I can't remember which one. It might be order by. And the reason for that is when we do aggressive change detection and we're having to apply a filter and an order, then things become slow very quickly. Okay, especially if you're doing it every time something happens on this page. Okay, and it's every time something happens on the page, not just when you change the collection of your items here, right? If I change one of these, right, or if I change even this up here, right, if I do this and then I click away, every time I did a keystroke there, it's actually applying the impure pipe down here. And it's also applying the people list here. So with the pipe, what this does is it sets it once, and the only time this will ever happen again is if we make a change to the collection. And what people recommend that you do, rather than creating an impure pipe, is to create code where the current object or array that this list is referring to is updated into a new object or array. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. I'll show an example of that right now. So if I come over to the code, and I'm going to close a few things here, and we'll delete that, or not delete that, we'll close that, we'll close this, we don't need any of that. We're just going to be working in here. And basically when we save the person, we want the array to be updated, and updated by reference. We don't want it just to be pushing in, like it does in this situation, a new object. Okay, we want to have a new array instance every time we do this kind of operation. Now, is it a bit of a memory concern? Maybe. Okay, but this is what they recommend that you do. It's more efficient than you waiting for change detection. That's what they recommend. I don't personally know the performance implications of doing this over the way that they do it now. You know, maybe they're using more objects as opposed to what you would use doing it by changing the object reference. I simply do not know. If you want to answer that question, maybe ask it in Stack Overflow or something like that, and you get an answer. So, how are we going to update this particular list? So I'm going to leave this code as is. Right? I'm going to push the people array in. That's totally cool. Right? What I'm going to do next is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a let of a current list of what's currently there, and I'm going to set this to the people array. So this dot people, like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this dot people to a new array of people, or person in this case. So instantly, if I do nothing else here, what's going to happen is whenever I click say person, we're going to have the list clear themselves. So let's just quickly check that just to ensure that it actually happens. So when we first load the page, nothing happens. As soon as I click say player, everything gets emptied. Okay, so that was what I expected. But we don't want that to happen. We want to keep the list we have. So because we have that current list, I'm going to now iterate over that list. So I'm going to var I equals 0, and I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but I'm not going to go through them at this stage. So the current list dot length, right, I plus plus. And no, if you try to use concat on the object, it will not change it either. I've tried this already. Okay, so if you're thinking this dot people dot concat and create an array with an empty object in it and think that's going to work, it doesn't, because you're not updating the object reference of this dot people. All you're doing is adding data for one array. You're essentially doing this, but you're not changing the reference at the end. You're just doing a push instead. So it's like going through here and then pushing into people and then just leaving it. But because I've changed the instance of it already, we already have that change detection in place that the pure pipe will pick up. All we need to do is put the data that we had back in there. So we go to this dot people dot push, and we'll go current list I. So we're just putting the information back that we originally had in that list, plus the new one that we just pushed in, or the one that we edited, with whatever. All that stuff's going to be pushed into a new addressed area, which as a result, the Angular pipe detection will pick that up and it will update. So if this bit's confusing, I understand. Send me an email or something like that and I'll get back to you on it. If I come over now and I refresh, Now I'm going to edit myself, make myself a player again. I click here, and still you see using Pure pipe filter is not updated. However, the reason why it hasn't updated is because we haven't really committed to saving that player yet. Once we save that player, we're going to be updating that list. And as you can see now, I'm actually in the Pure pipe filter as well. So it's not going to handle situations such as model binding. However, when you manually take the step based on an event to update the array, then it will work. Okay, so that's how you can update a Pure pipe. But if you want to do it in real time, based on typing anything in like this, like so, then, and I go in and I edit this like that. Even the Pure pipe's going to pick it up because of the fact that it's an object that I'm changing. So there you go. Hopefully that answers the questions about pure and impure pipes. If it doesn't, please send me an email and I'll let you know more. But that's it. I'm going to end this video. It's close to dinner time. I'm hungry again, and I need to edit this video and update it and push it up for you guys. So thank you everybody for listening, and I'll see you all in the next video, which we will be looking at animations. So see you then. Bye for now.